This service is provided in high definition by freeconferencecallhd.com. There are 2 participants in the conference. The recording has started. Please announce yourself.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave?
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Hornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and central. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, on live stream, maybe not. Who knows what they're pissy, you know how it is. We'll see how that works. You can let us know down the road. Anyway, also AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet Hallmark and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying 2 states, the outlying territories, and the clock. And for everybody, it is, of course, Weapons Wednesday. It is 5:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the clocks. What is it? Falling backward, or leaping forward, or stumbling sideways, or being groggy because the clock isn't right? Oh, man, I'm confused. Well, anyway, it is 5:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by adjusted clocks, and it is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 14th of October, 2020, Old Earth calendar. 2020, Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords. We are in the chapters. For all of you who've read, you know what I'm talking about. So, we're already, some parts are in chapter 4, or I should say advanced chapter 4, however you want to count it. And then there's eclectic stuff that is already dropped that, well, it's kind of a we told you so. It's like, well, go watch American Peril. It's an I told you so. For anybody who hasn't watched American Peril, if you're listening, go to YouTube, punch in American Peril, Mark Hornke, and you can watch it that way. We do have a master copies, DVD copies going out to some of our listeners, so guys, watch your mailbox. But you can watch a copy, a version of it that's been posted by somebody, and that works.
I've watched them.
And, yep, that's up on YouTube, and that'll give you a chance to go, huh. Now, there are things that are in American Peril. Before we get into the Weapons Wednesday component, there are things in American Peril that you'll notice, guys, these were big to-do items for the enemy, the regime, the globalists, and yet they're not talking about it now. One of them that really gets me is, again, FinCEN. Now, FinCEN didn't go anywhere. In fact, any banker probably could tell you that FinCEN exists. They're supposed to claim like they have ignorance, but, you know, there's enough of that's been around long enough that they've been arrogant, and they figure they don't have to rein in the information. First, they denied everything existed. You know, deny, lie about the Patriot movement, telling you all about what the government's doing, and then eventually go, look what we're doing and been doing for 10 years, 20 years. Wow, what a surprise. Well, not a surprise for us, but it's an I told you so, and we need to rub that in. Go ahead. Who do we have?
We got Tom. Hey, I don't know if you've seen this article or not. I know men accused of plotting to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer also discussed taking Governor of Virginia FBI says.
Everybody's talking about doing that. I mean, just like they are about, actually, nobody really wants to, like, kidnap it. They just want to grab it, put it on a barge, take it out to the middle of Lake Michigan, and dump that cat off and see if it can swim back to shore. Paddle harder. Paddle harder. Come on, Greta Bruce Jenner. Paddle harder. It's like you're on a bike. Wait a minute, you're the other one. You're not Greta Bruce Jenner. Well, you are Greta Bruce Jenner, but you're not Bruce Jenner, so you probably won't be able to pedal that well.
I picture Whitmer, our governor, riding a bike and then all of a sudden being taken up by a tornado and turning into the witch from The Wizard of Oz.
Right, and dumping in the middle of Lake Michigan, because it has to be Lake Michigan or but Lake Michigan's apropos. And she drowned, the witch drowned in Lake Michigan. Did she drown or melt? Melting, my beautiful wickedness.
I don't know.
My glossy skin is melting in the Michigan fresh water. No! I can see that. It
might freeze up here. It's been getting colder. It's been getting in the 20s and 30s
well,
at night.
That's not a problem, because then they bounce on the ice. If you drop them high enough, they actually go through. But if you really want to be kind of mean, they don't quite. That's where you have to do, like, what is basically, gravity math, because you got to calculate, weight of who you're going to drop from the helicopter, calculating distance, and also knowing the thickness of the ice that you choose to drop the individual on, because you want it to be just enough that they fracture the ice, but not that they go through like a bullet. You want it so that they're scrambling on the ice, realizing that doom is close, kind of like a rat trying to scrabble onto a piece of wreckage. But it doesn't do them any good because it's, shattered enough. See, that's where you've got to have some finesse when you're dumping, Greta Bruce Jenner or any of these other governors out of the helicopter when the time comes. Right, same with the communists in general, of course.
But why would you want to drop them in fresh water? Then it'd be polluted and we wouldn't be able to use it for anything.
Oh, well, but the greasy, oily slick easily is identified from the corpse. Remember, it's a dark, oily, after-tasting meat for the fish, but they will go at it. They'll nibble eventually. Remember, we got lots of large game fish that'll chew on almost anything. They don't care what it is. They're not sharks, but they are the next best thing. So don't worry. It would be processed through the ecosystem in a reasonable period of time. And that's why we go way out, because that way it doesn't, none of the wicked evilness gets sucked into the aquifers for the city waters or anything like that. Yeah, we've already planned this.
We can go between Michigan and Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, somewhere in there. That way it's more towards their area.
Right, it's some other state's problem, which this should have been in the first place, because this piece of trash isn't from here to begin with, for all practical purposes. And so, again, we're being nice. If you go around Michigan, oh, hell, if you start talking about Greta Bruce Jenner, the governor, people spit, and they're talking about, hanging her, burning her, whatever. So this is the biggest farce that you could imagine. Well, the FBI found out about it. Dudes, you obviously haven't walked across the streets of Michigan. Everybody's ready to hang her sorry arse. Everybody. Publicly, they'll tell you. We're actually being quite mild. We're just joking because it's just funnier to think about a wicked, kosher / globalist piece of trash like Greta Bruce Jenner, who's the governor, being dropped into water at all. It'd be just like the Wicked Witch of the West. Melting, drowning too, melting and drowning too, melting. Which will kill it first? See, that's the problem.
You hear that thud when she hits the ice. Thud. So.
The thud, but it's a thuddy crack thing, because it's like actually it would probably sound like a big, big, big egg. You know what I mean? A boiled egg when you drop it, not an uncooked egg, a boiled egg when you drop it. Funk, and there'd be that with all the ice. Then, as it starts to think that maybe it's going to make it, it falls through. And then the cat claws, those red cat claws that it has, would be scrabbling at the ice trying to get out, but it really wouldn't help much, and there'd be there we go. And let's see, where's the AG? Let's go deal with that one next. There we go. Nobody cares about any of them. No, nobody.
We couldn't pay anyone to take them.
Right, that was the problem. It's like we're kidnapping, Greta Bruce Jenner, the governor of Michigan, so that they can, get money back for them. It's like I said, they'd be anybody you contacted in the state that wasn't part of, the PUFTA crew would be like, well, how much are you going to pay me to take her back? That would be the other half of the problem. It's like, well, how do we get rid of this thing? Oh, God, I know it's greasy, it's oily, it's stinky. It doesn't stop yapping about how it's the Empress. I am the Empress! I am the Empress! I'm sure you are. Okay, calm down. Just stay over there in the corner. We're calling somebody to pick you up. Don't worry. Maybe, we're going to trade you out for something. And then after a while you realize, oh, God, what are we going to do with this thing? No, nobody. I called everybody. Nobody wants Greta Bruce Jenner back. Nobody.
We couldn't even get the Canadian state to take her back.
Yeah, they felt if it wasn't going to be governor, it wasn't worth. It wasn't worth the hassle. Otherwise, as a useful stooge, idiot / bought and paid for whore. Yeah, but once their usefulness is gone, well, they better have hung on to some cash because otherwise, they're just sucking vapors. And that's truly how it is. Anyway, that scam, trying to plug that in, same turds, different day, FBI, how can you tell when they're lying, guys? Everybody just needs to repeat it. Utari case. How can you tell when they're lying? It's when their mouth's moving. And even if you don't like what somebody says, guess what? Well, there's a lot worse that's been said for a whole year. I mean, how many people do you think publicly talked on all of their social media about burning down this country and Antifa and BLM and did it? Not talked about it, did it. And you know what? That FBI didn't do jack squat to save your country, people. That FBI didn't do jack squat to save a single stitch. They didn't save a single board. They didn't save a single window pane. Those pieces of gutter trash watched and laughed and cackled about how they get more power. That's the FBI. And let it happen.
Because saving anything is not their job.
Yeah. And again, so it's like, wow, okay, well, here's how this works. I'm going to say again, number one, let's remind everybody, there's no sense. The only thing we need to remember is this, publicly. If we go into a civil war, the governors will probably be locked down by either side, depending on who gets there first, okay? Let's understand that, it's like the sheriffs, okay? The sheriffs already got the piece because there's some people in the state police about how the state police was being told that with the National Guard and the feds, they were going to attack the sheriffs across the country. Okay, you got to understand that when you build a big, massive, redundant signal communications grid that's designed to propagandize the cops, which is what they've done, they prioritize this. What do you think that flat screen is in that cop car I've been telling you about for years? Well, that scroll thing, here's the problem. There's stuff they spit out that they don't think they're going to, the other half of their minions are going to see, or for whatever reason, people screw up. And so a lot of most of them are sellouts. There are a few. Somebody always does that when you go, the cops are going to steal stuff. Well, let's not be blanket. Oh, okay, well, most of the cops are going to steal stuff. A handful are going to stand there and not know what to do because half of them that join in are the management for stealing stuff from you, okay? So they don't know what to do. Sure, they're decent people. If they stop you, pull you over, if they can help you in some way, they probably will to let you know what's going on with the rest of the traitors. Trust me, it happens, okay? But they are the absolute minority because the rest of the pigs, they rotten turds that are corrupt as a day is long, specifically sense that these other guys are clean, and they're looking for the ones who are dirty, and that's who gets hired in is more of the same. So
promoted.
Yeah. This is how the thing is worked from the get-go, okay? So now here we are, and they're thinking that they're going to screw now the sheriffs because a big chunk of the sheriffs across the country, let's go back 1 year, guys, 1 year ago, not 4 years ago to the election. Let's go back 1 year. This is October. Last October, what were we all doing? Why, we had the Second Amendment Resolution Foundation, PACs, sanctuary cities, and it was being done and was being passed in documentation at the townships and the county and even at the state level, guys. That, as I told you before, is already an administrative war for independence / civil war. Period. Don't play it down. In fact, here's the thing. Why do you think that they started frothing at the mouth, and why they got desperate with a biological attack? A biological fake attack. But, again, they had something they've done over and over again. They just hit the switch and used a card, and they had a bunch of stupid people that drank the Kool-Aid, okay? And we do have I'm disgusted when I watch most. I have no respect for these people now that I see running around, because I'm waiting for the next step here, real quick on that note, with the dog muzzles. Okay, like in Michigan, the Supreme Court said it's done, it's dead. So they just real quick shuffled another appeal in, because they're going to keep playing this out. And, I want another 28 days. I want another 6. Well, if they keep doing this, it'll be right up to the day when they were supposed to be, they're done, no matter what, right? Well, they know what they're doing, and they figure we're all stupid and we're not going to figure out that this is what they're doing. However, at a given point, this is going to stop simply because they won't have any more authority. Now, when that happens, all of a sudden, like a light switch, all of this stupidity just stopped. Well, hold on. Stop technically with regard to the legalese. But take a look at the characters out here who are so, like I said, pathological. They are neurotic, they're hypochondriacs, they have paranoid tendencies, and you can only look down on them. You can't let those people run your life or tell any of us what to do. And they have no right nor any business being involved in an election process. That's just my attitude across the board. They're sociopaths. They are the epitome. In fact, if they proceed and continue to do this dogmatic action of this repetition of dog muzzle wearing in light of, well, then you got to ask yourself, okay, why are we listening to sociopaths / mentally ill individuals? Why, in any way, shape, or form, are they allowed to have any nuance of control over us? They aren't even supposed to be on the table or near the table. They're supposed to be dribbling over there in the other room, locked up, dribbling on themselves. Seriously, that's where we are with this. That's why I'm telling you, it's like every time you see more and more of this, like right now, everybody knows that the court already did tell our governor that enough is enough. Guess what? We're still not, well, we're going to stick with what the governor says. Everybody's got their experts, and that's where everybody's laughing about that scam too. Because pretty much 99.9% of the BSers that are out there that are the experts are just exactly that, BSers, across the board. And in fact, I have no respect for the commercial health industry. We need another competing mechanism, but they're not going to allow that. With the laws the way they've written it, let me point something out. You now have the dog muzzle pushers, and again, the medical industry, who counted on the idea that they could tell people with guns to threaten to kill you for not wearing a mask, and they like it. I don't look at them any differently than I do with, in fact, all these, well, in a way, it's a good thing. All of these sycophant cliques and operations are showing their red and yellow colors. It's kind of like another thing I want to touch on real quick, I'm going to tie it in right now. I don't look at the dog muzzle pushers any differently than I do the Antifa backing, the bread and circuses ball game operators, who all support BLM and Antifa, which, by the way, have said they want to murder you and murder your family. So when you see this little clique, this minority of rubes, forgive me, they're not the rubes, they think you're the rubes, the oi boys, who own all these commercial sports, telling their bought and paid for multi-million-dollar property to get down on one knee, and they're going to do this and back that. What they're telling you is they fully back people who said they want to kill you, which means those people who are backing them want to kill you. Why would you go to a basketball game ever again? Why would you go to a football game or a baseball game ever again? You have to be an idiot to let that slide by. Hold on. The reason I say this is because you just told me you're willing to support people who will kill me. You aren't going to come back from that. You can't come back from that. Oh, I decided that it was bad for business, so I'm going to change what I say. Yes, but your actions speak for what you truly believe. And you already expressed yourself. You want to see us dead. Oh, but you'll take all of our little digits before you do it. Isn't that fascinating? They've killed themselves. They've killed anybody. Only the unthinking and incompetent are in any way, shape, or form looking at any commercial sports right now. I still haven't heard from hockey, but if hockey starts that garbage, throw their ass out the window with everything else. And to a degree, if hockey, if I see the same names running those rigs, guess what? They should be gone anyway.
Yeah, I've listened to the guy down in Mexico. I can't think of his name. The guy with the glasses, the dollar vigilante. He said that hockey's doing it too. He shut him right off.
Then it's done. Like I said, so all these, what they've done is, this is a good thing. The best damn thing that can happen right now is all of this falderall be thrown out the window by the thinking men and women, and in the process, now all the resources and all the time that you should not in any way, shape, or form spend on the trash in the bread and circuses circle should be spent prepping for a war that is inevitable. It's that simple. So they really screwed up on this one. For whatever reason, however they thought they were going to manipulate everybody into cowing down and we're all going to get on our belly and on our knee, you can stuff that up your hind end. Anyway, we had another patient caller. I heard another voice there before, Dar. Who do we have, please?
Hey, Mark, this is Fluffy. I just thought I'd mention, because I was watching Fox last night, I like, what can I say, that they reported on the ratings for basketball, to a lesser degree football, and others as being beyond in the toilet. People aren't going to the games and they aren't watching, which tickled the hell out of me, if you pardon the expression.
And you know what gets me about this is, who the hell do they think was paying for all this garbage to begin with? Now, the only two things I can take, if it was planned to, maybe get rid of the bread and circuses so they don't have to maintain it, and now everything will get more gray, supposedly. Here's the thing. People will find their own, entertainment. And what's going to happen is they will rediscover why it is that these games or these sports were interesting before, because regular people were chosen, and you came from the rank and file, everybody out there, and it was up close, personal, and it was you and the people you knew. Now we've gone so far away from that, and even locally, though, the problem is most of the affiliations and funding and everything else, unfortunately, cross-contaminate from these upper tiers of tyranny down through all the rest of the supposed non-professional elements, because they all have to parrot, or they've been parroting whatever political correctness comes down from above to try and mimic it, because they're demi-professional or semi-professional, or even if they're amateur, they got to be like the big boys. It's like I said about the cop shops. It's the same problem. So everybody goes, well, the local cops. Well, if the local cops are busy trying to lick the bunghole of the feds because they're all Fed wannabes or they want brownie points. Plus, they know that if they ride with the feds, they can steal things. They get to steal more. They might get more table scrapings. Then there's no difference between the pack. So therein lies the rub here, in that the sports distraction is going to have to just be gone. It's going to have to die, and it better be. It already is happening, so we don't have to worry about that. The big thing is pushing people into making the right choices by asking the right questions. Who are these people? Well, here, think about this one with the commercial sports. And I don't have any clue how many football teams there are, and I don't really care. And I don't know how many baseball teams, and I don't really care. And I don't know how many basketball teams, and I don't really care. And now, since hockey's doing something, piss on hockey. Here's the thing. I guarantee that there are about, or less than 200 little yarmulke-wearing, kosher individuals who are all pedos a day as long, who own these operations, and their logic is that you're so brain dead and everybody is so disordered, mentally, that you could walk up, pull your wiener out, piss in everybody's face, and we're all supposed to ask for more. That was their thought process.
Oh, now, yes.
If you look at the guy who was... Go ahead.
Well, they tried to get an answer from one of the basketball owners, this young-looking billionaire guy, about why he was supporting doing business with China. And all he would say is, well, China's a customer, and they're a valued asset, so we don't have any problem doing business with them. even though they pointed out that China executes people every day and their human rights abuses are nothing less than legendary. That doesn't matter to them as long as they're making money.
Yeah, but it's not even that. Okay, well, let's just go from this end. I mean, I don't know why they'd be asking about China, because everybody is buying stuff from China, okay? I mean, I understand that they're trying to ridicule them, but that's not what I'd be ridiculing them about. You know what I mean? In other words, hey, asshat, who is, all the white people need to get down on their belly and beg for forgiveness, but before they do that, they need to die. That's BLM, that's Antifa, and that's the kill all the white people chant, okay? That's all you need right there. Everything and anything else, none of it you can fix. You can't tell me, well, I'm not going to do business with China. Who cares? You're planning on helping to murder me. Murdering me is a lot more permanent. The China thing, we've always bought stuff, and, again, from outside, and eventually it's going to die. I mean, we've run the gamut, which is really what this is all about. Now they want to get a war going with China and other countries. And the Oi boys will be running both sides. The Jewish mob will run the communist Chinese like they do, and they figure they're going to run the American Goy like they do. And then get us to butt heads one way or another. They built them up. I mean, after all, just like before World War II with Japan. My dad used to say when they were dropping bombs on us, we were having we were having Chevys and Chryslers dropped on us from above. Why? Well, because the number one purchaser of scrap metal going out of the United States was who? It was Japan. And what's cute is, again, think about what's been going on with China for how long. Now, the big difference is now there's another subject, but you shouldn't open a can of worms here on this. But remember, how many different core production operations that have to do with raw materials have you heard of in the last 10 years that were intentionally undermined and put out of business by Obama, and Trump didn't do any more for? In fact, they didn't ratchet back any of the drivel that Bummer brought in. That's the one thing nobody's talking about. It's like the whole BS we've talked about for years with this scam with lead, okay? And it's like every step of the way, the commie brought it in, Trump didn't get it, back it up. Because it is at ludicrous level. It's why everybody could do everybody's dying in Flint, Michigan, and it's the lead. Look at the water, there's lead. Guys, you can't see lead in the water. What you saw were shocked, rusty pipes. When you have silt in piping and you shock it because you turn the supply back on, you all are supposed to be told to run it, and that way it pulls the silt, the rust silt, out of the system. You can't see lead. It is a silvered metal. Okay, think about water. How it's translucent, how it reflects and works with light or interacts with light. Then consider the different minerals and how they interact with light. If you make a certain mineral soluble that is relatively reflective, it virtually becomes invisible in water. This is all stuff you got back when you were in junior high school. Okay, this is why I keep watching stuff like this, and it's like, we didn't have this in high school. You could even say you were a high school dropout, it wouldn't work with me. Why? Now, granted, you might not have been paying attention when you were in junior high school, but the fact of the matter is, it was presented to you. It was there, okay? And not only that, but then if you did stay in high school, it was there. Oh, and by the way, if you took a trade school, or if you went, especially if you took a trade school, by the way, I'm going to point out something about that in a minute. If you went to any college, you have so many hours of science that you must take. It's part of your, you're going to get a beaver board or a sheepskin from wherever, you got to have these classes, and these are mandatory, and you got to have so many of this, and it doesn't make any difference who you are. Okay, but let's say you go to a trade school. I've had a lot of trade classes, and I'll be quite honest, I've been to college, and I've been to trade schools. And I got more out of a trade school in one semester of trade school time than I did in a year of working that were supposed to be classes that were to help orient me towards an aerospace engineering degree. Okay? I got more in less time with the trade school, including the idea that a lot of those people were the common sense teachers who actually had to apply things because they worked for a living and then also taught. And typically, because of that, they had direct application, common sense knowledge, and then they also used common sense, which, God help you can't do that in a college or university. You have to be batty as the day is long and a crazy loon red. You have to be a red and yellow Soviet, or you can't get into class. What does that have to do with engineering? Absolutely nothing, but it doesn't make any difference. You still have to be a commie, and if you're not a commie, we'll have to punish you. Whereas on the other hand, you go to the trade school and everybody's like, yeah, okay, if they show up like that, I think we'll beat the living crap out of them, won't we? Yeah, I think so too, Bob. Yep, I agree with you. By the way, let's listen to the teacher. He's got something to say. Seriously, guys, this is, well, and again, that's the sidebar. We're going way around the corner. But it is important to understand right now that they are flat out lying their ass off. Number one, the feds are. Number two, with the sports arena game thing is an opportunity, because everybody I am talking to, normally you go to a place and you be yapping about a game, nobody's watching the games, or if they are, they're just pissed. They're temporarily pissed, but it's going to be long-term temporary because nothing has changed, and all they're yapping about is how you need to apologize, and they've got all of these, BS, step-by-step mechanisms they've plugged in, which, by the way, are totally contrary to everything and anything they actually pumped on everybody since 9/11. I mean, let's think about that one. Okay, well, we don't need to go any farther than that for the moment, but let's remember Propaganda 101. Tell you what we're going to do. Ed, if you could, just as a little piece of ear candy, Muse, Propaganda. We got to throw a piece of music in there once in a while. By the way, for our new listeners, yeah, we do play music on the air, but remember, if you do hear music and you're tuning into the network, it's because we are a combination music and talk radio network with the way that Ed has to feed the programming. So you're going to have to look at the schedule, and we'll be right back. Muse Propaganda. And we are back. Propaganda by Muse, by the way. There's an acoustic and the standard rock model. So check them out over at YouTube. You'll find their music there and other locations. I think they're on Vivo and a bunch of others. But Muse, they do a lot of political pieces, and that particular one, Propaganda. Very, 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 very much on the money. Okay, the other side, they just making you offers that you can't refuse. Oh, that free fishing trip to the Cayman Islands. Yeah, if you're a doctor and you want to screw America, well, you don't want to screw America, but you'll screw America for Big Pharma because they'll give you a Cayman Island fishing trip if you can get as many people on brain-screwing Prozac as possible. And that's how they got Prozac out there where, well, wait a minute, isn't it a psychotropic for people who are like schizophrenic? Yeah, and that's why they were prescribing it for knee injuries. You got a knee injury. You need Prozac. What? Well, why? Well, because I got 6 more prescriptions to go, and I'm going to the Cayman Islands for 2 weeks. It comes in the mail. Tickets, all the paraphernalia. In fact, I even get some sunscreen with that. Free sunscreen. It was a little kit. Yeah, so it's like, you see how that works? And that's what's going on with all these dirty whores with this whole thing with the, there's going to be inoculations. They're going to get you're going to have the guard there. Donald Trump's going to have the military there, put a gun to your head if you don't get the shot. They're going to do it so fast, they're going to bum rush you. Because that's really what he said. Okay, well, we're going to do it real fast. Yeah, I'm sure you are. You're going to try. So, and they tried and failed? No. They tried and died. Shy Hulud. Anyway, so we got a lot of work to do, and we're not just going to complain. However, again, all this stuff is connected. It is not isolated and separate. That's the one thing they want you to think. The sports people are pissing and moaning, but I'll still wear the dog muzzle because I think those liars weren't lying. And, oh, look, they're yapping about the militia in Michigan. Oh, the FBI. Well, the FBI, oh, wait a minute, 2 weeks earlier, the same person be going, the FBI has been lying for 4 years about Donald Trump. The FBI is mean to Donald Trump. The FBI fabricated all this stuff. Oh, they just said something about the militia. Oh, they're my savior. Oh, let me lick their bunghole so deep that it'll be pink. Oh, the FBI is so wonderful. Wait a minute, isn't the FBI said you said there was lying for 4 solid years? And by the way, it's the rank and file, the middle management, and the upper management were all cooperating on that, weren't they? Yeah, they were. And then so you're believing the same institution that you're telling me lied for 4 years, not only repeatedly but aggressively.
It's somebody's politically incorrect ox that's being gored, Mark.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, again, beware and pay attention to these characters that are like this, especially because I don't care who it is. It's the FBI. First rule doesn't mean it was who they're pointing at. It's the FBI. What's the FBI good for? Fabricating and lying, people. That's all they're good for. Go ahead, jump in there.
You came around to the same point that you brought up before, and I couldn't drive that wedge into that crack in the oak tree. The gentleman who I still 98% of the fibers in my body say he was the paid informant, the one that got offed. Have you seen the article that said that he was associated with one of the constitutional sheriffs?
Right.
Okay, you have seen that.
More than one. Well, they're trying to go back. What it is, it's like I've said, we've got a massive number of people all through the counties and townships that are patriot oriented right now. What they've got is he was in a public venue, and they're trying to terrorize the rest. So here's what needs to happen: is like we don't need to go run up and hug the guy and swap spit and and spill our beans about anything. But what we do need to do is say, well, what like he's doing, piss off and I don't care. This is the one thing that in their first initial attack of him, they were hoping he'd do the blurt routine, and they did this. This is like what happened with the Oklahoma City bombing, or when they attacked Hutari. The idea is to go to all of these people that are spineless and go, well, you knew Dave Stone. Oh, God, I didn't know him, but if I did know him, he was horrible. I think he had fangs, and he ate babies. Oh, my God, he's horrible. What else do you want me to say? Oh, God, he's just the worst person in the world. Okay. So what happened is they threw this garbage out, panty waist leftist turds or the rightist turds, because I don't see any difference between the two of them. They're just two sides of the same coin right now. Each one of them still feels their feces doesn't stink and that we're all peasants that should be licking their boots. And that's the problem I have with this thing across the board. Now, one thing I will say about that, like you're saying, is, well, it could be the guy that's MIA, but, it could be the one that's MIA that's dead, maybe because of, he may be the informant. One of the things I'd point out about that is that it was a shootout. And what we're working on right now is, okay, well, bullets flew, there was yellow tape put up, and it was in front of a Texas roadhouse, which is a nice central location where you can talk to a lot of other people who are in the area and confirm, well, did you hear or see this? Which is, I don't want to say any more, but I didn't want to say any more until maybe a day or two, but we can say that now. And the bottom line is there are too many witnesses or people floating around. It's not like it wasn't a back alley in downtown Detroit and Fort Street, okay? It was, if you look on the map where it's located, if there's a Texas roadhouse, that's a busy area. That's a business. But business positive, because that franchise was very careful about where they plop their stores. Now, and again, they make money on those. So this is one of those locations where it's going to be easy to progressively find more and more people who may have been witnesses to the event. And we're not looking to find the usual cast of characters. The idea is you start doing a sweep where you talk to random people who are typically coming and going and working in the area, because they will have noted that, and it interrupts their workflow. It may interrupt them going to work, which is what you're looking for. You're not looking for we go talk to Fred Schmidlap, the owner of such and such. A lot of businesses they'll walk up and tell them a flat out lie. If this is let's say that they're trying to conceal his disappearance, and let's say it was the disappearance cycle. All they have to do is go, flash their badge, yap how important you are to the world in general, and the FBI loves you so much they're going to give you a 99-cent made in Bangladesh hat, and you're going to be a junior G-man. Oh, wow, I got an FBI Bangladeshi junior G-man hat, and they didn't even print it straight. Oh, that must have been intentional. It looks stylish. Oh, and then they tell them what to say. Now, we've had this happen, but what's funny, of course, here's the thing. Down the road, people get, jaded because of other things, and so they will eventually come forward to, well, let me tell you what happened. That happened with something similar where the feds tried to pull that with a business owner, a manager, at a certain store down the road here, okay? But in this case, what we're looking for is other parties who are transient, who you could randomly grab and get feedback from. That's a superior first survey over trying to talk to, I'll go talk to the owner or the manager of such and such. Well, managers, supervisors, number one, the agency will get hold of even the bosses that own the company, who will tell them, cooperate with the FBI, whatever they want you to say it, word for word, verbatim. Remember the script, keep it simple. Because that's what they do. They really do, people. It's not just a movie. That's really how the feds lie about a lot of things. And what they do is they intimidate. People don't know how to turn around, kick them in the face. Or they were not willing to. See, this is like the corona beer virus dog muzzle thing. This isn't new for me. I'm just pissed at this batch of people, because I've seen all this before. And what you're bringing up is one of two options. In other words, there's a fork in the road here. Which is it? We don't have a solid turn signal to tell us which way to go on that. So that's still a question mark and up in the air. But it is interesting if it was, for instance, if they really, really, really were trying to draw attention, it would have been given a lot more attention to a degree, especially since it was, as public as they made it within the other sphere where these other people are involved. Remember, again, nobody knows everybody, and that's how it should be. There are many, many different institutions and organizations in the militia out there, guys. Some of them are far older than you can imagine. They go back to the founding. Some groups are fairly new. Everybody has different ideas, and there are millions and tens of millions of you out there. So you have many different elements. I don't want to ruin it, but I'm thinking what we should do is the next militia, like they did with the Boogaloo. Okay, first of all, what's really funny, I haven't paid too much attention because I usually just kind of roll it as a word, Boogaloo. I haven't looked to see how many times and how many ways they've spelled it wrong. Okay, because trust me on this one, even with a spell checker. But what would be fun is the next organization that we might just fabricate, we'll just make it more consonants than vowels. We'll make it like a Romanian name, and it'll be something where every time you pronounce it differently, intentionally. That way, whenever they're trying to figure out, where their propaganda, first of all, every time they put it up on the screen, the only way they could get them to read the propaganda would be to actually do it phonetically. In other words, they can't have them read what's printed because they can't pronounce it. They wouldn't be able to. They couldn't. They just wouldn't on a regular basis. Maybe some with a background could, but most wouldn't. So instead, I'm going to tell you what they do on the teleprompter and also on the API wire service. Guys, they literally do phonetically word out, in other words, what rhymes with and sounds like, and that's how they spell it out so that they reinforce to the talking head, the mouthpiece, how to pronounce something. This is why when you pay attention, it was kind of neat with Hutari. With the Hutari name is a Huttery. How many of you remember Huttery? It was Huttery, or Hutare, or Hutari, or Hutara.
Yeah, they did that a lot.
Huttera. It's Huttera. I've told you before, my name, Koernke. Do you know how many different ways I've seen that spelled in a government form?
Kleinigkeit.
Yeah, it's like every variation. Well, there's only so many ways you can do it, but I've seen every variation you can imagine. And when they're doing field reports, I've seen Cornkey. It's Cornkey. How do you know it's Cornkey? Well, yeah, because that's what he said. It's Cornkey. I'm sure that's the official report. It's Cornkey, and we know this guy, and it's Cornkey. Cornkey. And they repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it because they know everything and they know all about me and they know everything there is to know, and they aren't even getting the spelling of my last name right. Think about that. We know everything about it. We know everything. Yeah, we're so superior and knowledgeable. Cornkey. Yeah. So just imagine. Yeah, Nancy's rattling off some of the other ones in the background here. So it's just a heads up, anyway. But yeah, as far as where this is going so far, like I said, the interviews that need to take place are obviously family, and if we can't get through to that, that's going to be a big question mark too, because it should be pretty straightforward and simple. The other thing, coroner's inquest, coroner's documents should still cost. Now they used to be $8. Here in Michigan, I think they're like $12 or $13 now to get a death certificate. Now, are they going to go that far to actually even lie about that or fabricate? Sure. But you got to have one so you can use it as a litmus when you start cross-referencing other data and find that something is a falsehood. You got to have the right database. Go ahead, jump in there.
Unless you're Connecticut after the Sandy Hook shooting and you pass a law that says no one can ever see any of that information anymore.
Then you know it's a lie, right? Because why would you not want some? What's the big deal? People are dead. In fact, you know what gets me about that one? Let me point something out. Thank you for bringing that one up about Crooked Hook / Sandy Hook. I want to ask everybody, how many children, and it's a bad subject, but it's something you've got to force people to think about. How many children die every year? Do you know how many different ways children die every year? Do you know how many horrible ways children die every year?
How many die from vaccines?
And I mean for every state. I mean, okay, let's put it this way. What is the mortality rate per hour in America? Because these are numbers you see when they were printing all this crap for the coronavirus. Man, they were spitting numbers out there left and right. Before you look at the coronavirus BS, step over to the general demographic information about, again, births and deaths. Now, then there's subcategories, because remember, that's age bracket, typically prepubescent, well, they actually have infant, prepubescent, teenager, you're a young adult, going into middle age, going into old age, okay? And whatever their cutoff is, it's arbitrary over the last 100 years because they keep changing. They've changed it, but last year was consistent with the year before. Last year before that was consistent before the year before, for a couple of decades at least, right? Well, if you look at how many people died in the state where Crooked Hook took place that were young adults and children, and then you find out how horrifically they died. I mean, everything from walking into a wood chipper, getting eaten by dogs, okay? Well, that's pretty horrific. But I could walk up and I can get a death certificate for that child in 15 minutes. But all of a sudden, like you said, Dar, I can't have a death certificate for kids who were shot at a school, supposedly, officially. Which, by the way, by comparison to some of the other ways that people die, it was maybe a lot quicker. Okay? I mean, people get boiled to death, burned to death, shredded to death, hit by vehicles and not really recognizable. Okay, well, the kid was hit, at 40 miles an hour, stepped out in front of a car. It wasn't the driver's fault, but the kid turned into really not a pretty affair, and we had to kind of use more than one gurney to carry the part. And, you can have a copy of that.
Bee stings, peanut butter allergies.
Yeah. But at least those would be relatively pretty by comparison, but still horrible because the child died. See, so this is where when you... Sandy Hook. This is why when you come back to this base issue, it's like, well, what changed? Well, the fact that they were lying changed, and they had to make sure they covered their tracks. You see, in fact, the level of, they've always been lying. We know that, okay? In fact, everybody goes, well, it didn't just happen. I know, we'll be the first to tell you that. Well, we agree with you 100%. But here's the thing. We are now, and I think the epitome, the pinnacle of this is this fake-ass election that we are now in, which is totally illegitimate across the board. In your lifetime, people, where have you seen such over-the-table, flagrant voter fraud in your face? All of you can find information about or demonstrate what are absolute. If nothing else, like I said myself, I'm getting mail-in ballots. I don't need one, but I got 7. I got 7 mail-in ballots. I could really do some voting. Wow. Now, if I'm going to tell you that, but I'm not going to use them, then I'm going to have to figure, if I got that many, how many other rats, pigs, rodents, and just plain lecherous people got them, and they're all going to vote 6, 7, 8, and 10 times.
Specifically the ones that were on the Democratic rolls, eh?
Yeah. So what you have is a massive voter fraud that cannot be fixed. And it is true that this will intentionally, and this is why, again, this is where you get into that, like I said, it's a shipwreck. Because just like the governor being told by the court that, you know what, you don't have authority to do what you're doing. Well, then who steps up and does anything? Okay, the moment she did that, let me ask everybody something. Who stepped up and told the government, cease and desist or you're going to be arrested? In Michigan. A court told the governor, you are in illegal operation. It is a crime. Now, I want you to tell me what what government institution was at the door knocking on the governor's office and telling the governor, you cease and desist now, or I will arrest you the way I would go down the road here and arrest somebody for having a half ounce of weed or a quarter ounce of weed or something. Guys, I don't care what the hell it is. Take your pick of crimes. But there's nobody.
I believe that would be somewhere between nobody and nobody.
So how is this going to get fixed? You see, this is where you get down to you're in need of an American war for independence to scrub the table clean of excrement and eclectic detritus that has destroyed the foundational mechanisms of your form of government. We haven't been practicing our form of government, and ergo, nobody has any working knowledge of how our form of government is supposed to work. And why? Because the public fool system makes sure that doesn't happen.
You are correct, sir.
So we go right down. Yeah, we're at the top. We're going to take a break here for a minute, guys. But every step of the way, it's compounded one after another, taking you to where we are now, with an absolute lie about a foundational mechanism that determines how our system is supposed to work. And this election is a fraud, and this election is based on voter fraud on such a massive level. There's nothing that could fix it unless somebody stepped up, but there's not a Republican or Democrat stepping up. God bless our republic,
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire is on the run.
We are on the march.
We are on the march day and night.
And for everybody out there, AIM Surplus has got some 308, 762 NATO in battle packs, Preview Partisan. It's 74 cents a round. And they have individual boxes out of those battle packs for $15.95 a box. They still have some 762 by 39. We'll talk about that for a minute when we get back and stay on subject.
You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm, and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the Afternoon Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Harnke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live stream, in theory. Application may be another thing because of little wits down at that end. And we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and UltraNet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies, east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, territories, and the clock at 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Weapons Wednesday. It is the 14th of October. It's the 12th year of open Fabian socialist and in-your-face Soviet socialist occupation of America with a K. The only fight right now in this country is between the Leninites, the Trotskyites, and the Stalinites. One flavor of communism over the other, but the Democrat and Republicans are intentionally screwing the country. The Republicans aren't going to step up, never have, never will, and the Democrats will be told to be the hairy, crazy nutcases burning the country down, which they are. Meanwhile, vacillating and agonizing and organizing. We'll protest next year. Don't get upset or excited. Don't do anything when they come to rape, kill, pillage, and burn you. No. Wait until next year. They'll have a committee on it. But don't say anything otherwise, and don't let anybody else resist being murdered or raped, killed, pillaged, and burned by the government because, well, we're going to have a committee next year. And it'll be a government at, over at the 3rd Congressional Building over in the back lot, over in the corner in the basement when they have the hearing. And then they'll do nothing. But don't you get upset. Wait 2 years. No, wait 3 years. No, the communists will be entrenched in 4. Oh, come on. You're just being reactionary because the communists are taking over and are now openly murdering people. You shouldn't do that. Oh, by the way, it's the year 2020. Old Earth policy, old Earth calendar, 2020. Battle for the Republic, Dance of Swords. Don't you get uppity and do something like save your life now or save your country. You just need to sit on your arse the way everybody has been told to do for years and years and years by the spineless curs called the Republicans, who then join hand in hand with the Democrats and just keep pushing everything right down the road to disaster.
You're not allowed to use that term uppity anymore, Mark.
Yeah, uppity.
That's politically incorrect.
Yeah, well, I'm getting uppity right now. Yeah, shaking the bush, boss. Shaking the bush. Yeah, we'll be shaking the bush. We'll burn that sucker down. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that is going on. It's Weapons Wednesday. Before I go any further, what I mentioned kind of in the background noise there, because I know we were going out, AIM Surplus has 7.62 by 51 NATO M80 is preview partisan, boxer prime, non-corrosive, very fresh. But it is $15.95 for a 20-round box. That's about 79 cents a round. Or if you want to go the full battle pack, which a lot of you probably already have these, you have the German or the Portuguese or some of the Pakistani battle packs. It's 200 rounds per pack. It's a vinyl, bag that is totally supposed to be sealed, and this is fresh stuff, so I'm sure it still is. But Preview Partisan 7.62 by 51 NATO M80 200-round battle packs for $149.95. That comes to about 75 cents, 74 point whatever. We'll say 75 cents per round. So it is about 4 cents less. But they're offering the individual boxes because some people can't afford a whole bag. They can't afford barely that $15 box. Okay, I know that. Now, that's the only new thing on the page there that they're showing. Go ahead, caller, jump in there.
The boxes are the 182 grain boat tail, and the battle packs are the 145 grain M80. I want some of those battle packs. I've got some of the red.
Well, the battle packs say they're 140. Okay, they're supposed to. It looks like they're the same box. I mean, I'm just looking at the picture real quick here. Hold on here. I didn't look at the specs. They don't do that down below. What happened there? That's rather interesting. Features 145 grain lead core, copper jacket, full copper jacket bullet, brass case, non-corrosive boxer prime, factory package, 145 grain. So they're both 145 grain. They should both be. In fact, I think what they did, like I said, what they've done is they've opened up a battle pack and said, okay, we'll sell some of these. But, hold on here, let's see, lead FMJ.
75 cents a round for that.
One says Target. Okay, that's one thing they did change. They identified it as Target ammunition. It was in competition ammo. But either way, let's put it this way. Oh, wait a minute. Well, 25 rounds per box. I'll take that back. That is obviously packed in bulk blocks as opposed to the battle packs, because it says in the description, package 20 rounds per box and 25 boxes for a 500-round case per case. But still, $15.95.
75 cents a round is cheap for 308 at this point.
Right. Right now, it's here's what I was going to kind of explain to everybody. I've talked about the sine wave. 7.62 by 51 NATO was as reasonably priced as 223/556 for the longest time. And then 556 crept up, but the 308 didn't jump right away. Well, now the 308, of course, we know did go up to $1 plus a round, $1.10, $1.15, $1.25 a round. So yes, this is still cheaper than most everybody out there for whichever of these choices you make. The big thing is that if, wait a minute. Oh, darn. Boy, this happens all the time. Well, I was going to point out that AIM Surplus, their AK-47 ammo, 7.62 by 39 ammo, was literally, half the price of the 7.62 NATO. So, you still could buy two and a quarter rounds of AK ammo for the price of one M14 round, right? Except that while we were on break and as we came off of the intro, the 7.62 by 39 just sold out. So it's not
nothing there.
Yeah, it's gone. This happens all the time with AIM, and with everybody for that matter. But you know what? I will say this: they are good about not, overselling. So what they did is when they got to the inventory point, they pulled it. The Wolf ammo is gone over there. So that won't last. They have been pretty good about finding more. Of course, you never know. At some point, the well's going to go dry. But they do have the 7.62 by 51 NATO M80 rounds available. And I would point out they still have both of the 7.62 by 54R PPU blue box, 182 grain FMJ, and the 150 grain soft point, and $1 less than the 308. So, just $1, but $1's $1, guys. That's another how many rounds? And they still have that available too. So if you're looking for MBR, main battle rifle calibers, they have 7.62 by 51 NATO, 7.62 by 54R, and they have some 30-06 Wolf left. And then they do have the 50 cal, and they've got one pistol caliber. The only thing they do have is 38 Super Plus P, and that is PMC bronze, which is very good. That's very high quality ammo, guys. I don't have any problem with PMC. I'll run all day. It's Korean. They do make good ammunition, and this is their higher end box. So if you're a 38 Super Plus operator and need a Plus P round for that big frame 45 type pistol in 38 Super, there's the round for you. So again, there's a little bit, but they just sold while I was talking. Even as I was talking to you, I was going to make this comparison. It was sold out. So that's where things go. However, it's still true that the 7.62 by 39 is holding at a lower level, even at this point, than all the other ammunitions in a rifle caliber. So just something to think about. If you got AKs and SKSs at this point in time, or if you have anything it takes a 7.62x39, like a Ruger Mini 30, I'd still be piling up the ammo for that, because I can get 2.5 rounds for the price of anything else that's out there, even 5.56. So I can put 2 bullets down range for the price of year 1, which means I can increase the probability of hits. Oh,
is that ammo at AIM surplus?
Repeat.
Is that ammo at AIM surplus?
Yes, the ammo is at the 7.62x51 NATO M80 round is at AIM surplus. It's Privy Partisan. Both of the different offerings are Boxer Prime, non-corrosive, heat annealed, and those are fresh. This is stuff that was either made for contract for, so that we would murder Iraqis for the Israelis, or maybe so that we could murder Syrians for the Israelis. Either way, this was made as government contract ammunition. I recognized this when they offered it up before, and they said, American contract. So this is probably American contract for either mercenary companies, U.S., U.S. operations, because we buy everything right now. We don't buy American hardly. They're supposed to, but that's a lie. I know it is. We buy
too many. 7.62x39.
It's gone. It's gone. Don't worry about it. It's gone. It's not there. It was at AIM. It was at AIM, but it's gone. And again, tonight maybe we'll see some more pop up. This 308 showed up in the middle of the day, so again, pretty cool. But for all of you out there, it's catch as catch can. You got to make a decision. This is why, like I said, when you scour the system and you make a cherry, you cherry pick from here and cherry pick from there. If you see it and it is a good price, don't hesitate, move on it. Just that simple. Everybody's looking for the same thing, and with every day, more people know there ain't nothing but disaster headed ahead of us, up in front of us, because of the lack of management by all sides, or because they're following the orders, which, by the way, is still lack of management. They're following the orders of the ring knockers from outside the country to screw America and try to kill us. So we got to kill them back, buy more ammo. It's just that simple. And phased weapons and, ray weapons and lasers and all the other fun stuff that we already know how to build. Build more of it, because you're going to need it.
Hey, Mark.
Go ahead, caller. Jump in there, please.
Yeah, this is Todd down in Orlando again. Interesting article just came out a couple hours ago. ATF suspends attempt to resurrect Obama-era AR-15 pistol ban. This is at freebeacon.com. If you just type in Honey Badger AR-15 ATF, it'll come up on Google. But this is, it says that the Second Amendment groups urge administration to fully rescind order that could turn legal gun owners into felons. So the ATF sent these people a letter, and it said the purpose of the suspension is to allow the United States Department of Justice to further review the applicability of the National Firearms Act to the manufacturer and transfer of the model Honey Badger pistol firearm. That's ATF Chief Joel Rosner said in a letter. The move gave the gun company and owners of such weapons, which have been legal since 2012, a 60-day reprieve. Now, if you scroll down the article, it says, quote, the ATF's letter is a weak attempt to placate gun owners. It does not resolve the issue. NRA spokesman Amy Hunter told the Washington Free Beacon, quote, the NRA will continue to fight to get a speedy and fair resolution from the DOJ on this important matter. You scroll down and this guy from Director of Legal Strategy at the Firearms Policy Coalition says that it was rogue elements of the ATF trying to implement anti-gun owner agenda right before the election. So this is like a 60-day reprieve until Trump gets back into office, and then they'll crank things back up again.
Right, they're stepping back, even though this is Trump's ATF, just like this is Trump's FBI that pulled the crap up here in Michigan. This is not somebody else's ATF and somebody else's FBI. And the reason they're doing this is because Trump already did this with the bump stocks. In fact, everybody goes, well, it's just this one gun. Guys, it was just one bump stock manufacturer that they initially settled the paperwork on. Trump ordered that. The same garbage is going on here. Go ahead.
Let's be honest with each other. There's no such thing as a rogue element of the ATF. They are all on the same page with each other. So when people like the NRA or GOA or any of these firearms groups that have been putting pressure on them say that there are good people in the FBI or, the ATF, and there's bad people in the ATF who are wanting to resurrect these gun bans. That's not true. They're all the same. I've dealt with them before, and they're horrible people.
Right. They're the worst of the worst. In fact, the excrement settles towards the bat faggot world. Okay? This
I'll
is
tell
something...
I'll tell you a story.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you a story. I actually did time in the federal system, and if there's any group of people who are worse than the ATF, it is people who work for the Bureau of Prisons who want to be in the ATF.
Yeah,
and
the Federal Bureau of Prisons, right, exactly.
Correct, yeah. So these people, the ATF goes into these prisons and tries to recruit from the Bureau of Prisons because they know that basically what you're starting with is someone who has a fresh slate, who doesn't have any other skills, who was trained to basically watch over prisoners, and then they go in there and say, hey, look, you want to make some more money? This is what they do. And they'll actually tell them, they go, look, we want you to go around the compound, take pictures of these people, search through their lockers, get evidence, anything you can get, because the ATF is so horrible that it's not enough that they've actually put someone in prison on a trumped-up charge. Then they have to go, after the person pleads out, before they get sentenced, they come up with all these enhancements, and they put these enhancements on the person's sentence. And they say one thing in the plea bargaining, but then when they go to get their PSI, their pre-sentence investigation, it shows that the pre-sentence investigation people went and talked to the ATF or the FBI, and the ATF stuck in there and said, well, wait a minute, we found out about this, and this, and this. Then they finally get sentenced, okay? And maybe they have an evidentiary hearing to see if they're really guilty of these things or not. See, that's another thing people don't realize is like, yeah, you have a right to a fair and speedy trial, and you have a right to a jury trial. But once you're convicted, right after you're convicted and right after you agree to the conviction, before you're sentenced, they can come up with enhancements. And the enhancements to your sentencing cannot be, you can't go before a jury trial. It's just between you, your public defender or lawyer, the government, and the federal judge. So it's up to the federal judge whether or not the enhancements stick. But what's so horrible about the ATF is that even after the person is in prison, federal prison, they're still trying to go and get the Bureau of Prisons guard to snitch out on the inmates and say, okay, take pictures of who these people are talking to, see if you can overhear the conversations, open their mail. They're trying to put more time on the person's sentence after the fact, even though the person has pled out and pled guilty to things that they weren't even guilty for in the first place.
Well, there we go. Make sure I got that up. That's why, like I've said, at this point in time, you can't go anywhere. There's no sense in if you're behind the wire when this starts, it's bad, and you've already seen how bad it can be, right? Guys, yeah. It will get worse real fast.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, think about this. At least during the time when you're behind the wire, it's been relatively stable, a relatively stable environment. Once they plug in this stinking police state operation to the next level, sky's the limit. They don't have to listen to anybody, and they won't.
No.
That's where you might as well fight. You're better off fighting, and you might die. Well, they plan on killing you anyway. And with all the garbage that they'll pile on or compound, better to make widows and make it hurt, because they plan on doing all kinds of terrible things to you anyway. You better just hurt them back.
Well,
I've
already seen it.
If you fight real hard, you win. Guess what?
I've already seen it when I was in there. I was in there for 5 years. I've seen people being beat up by these guards. I've seen the agents go in there when they are trying to transport. Once they're in, this is what people don't understand, is once they're in prison, that's one thing. But when they're on transport, that's something totally different.
Oh, that's even more
and
abuse. That's wicked abuse. Yes, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I've seen people actually being thrown through, glass windows, beat up, for nothing, no infraction whatsoever. So, and plus you have the other abuse. And I'll be honest with you, I don't care what other people say about this, but you have a prison that's got 2,000 people in it, and you've got almost half of the people that are Hispanic. You've got the other half that are black, and you've got a small minority, less than 10%, that are white. Yep. So for the white guys that are going in there with some kind of trumped-up weapons charge, the fact that you're in a prison full of black and brown-skinned people that hate your guts anyway, if that isn't double the time on your sentence, I don't know what is. So,
well, survivability, this is what I've said before, and people are like, no, you'd be understanding. Listen, here's how it works. Once they realize that you're willing to hurt them as hard as they're willing to hurt you, that's the only thing that ratchets things back. And most people, as I've said, the older you get, now you've been behind the wire, guys, they will take a black person. They get a white guy who's, say, 65, 70 years old. Well, 70 years old in prison? Oh, hell yeah, Matt Fagus don't have a problem with that. This system, this wretched, rotten system that needs to be gutted, well, what they'll do is they get a guy that's older behind the wire. First of all, he's probably a paper pusher. They usually do this with paper pushers. They stick him in with a black who is violent from the get-go. Well, the black doesn't buy a TV. The black doesn't buy a sound system or, like a cassette player. It used to be a cassette player, a CD player. It doesn't make a difference. Whatever it is that you buy, you thought you were going to take care of your family member with to make it more comfortable while they're being tortured. Don't worry. The cops, the guards put your dad or your uncle or your cousin or your brother in with the black, and of course the black watches your TV. First they beat you up. First they beat you down because of course you're not really, it's not in your mind, okay? And then whatever you have to eat, they get to eat. Whatever it is you get in store, they tell you what you're going to buy in store. They claim they're going to beat you down, and they probably would, and they might even kill you. But you're dealing with a shoe-sized IQ monster / animal whose job it is to suck off you, and they do it in spades behind the wire as opposed to what you see outside. What you're seeing outside bleeding on the street is all garbage you see behind the wire.
Well,
am I right or am I wrong? This Black Lives Matter crap, as far as I'm concerned, it's the I'm a victim. How can they do nothing and take as much as they can if you're stupid enough to give? Or you really are, you're powerless because you've been hurt and damaged to the point where you can't stop them.
I want to bring up something that you said a while ago, a few months ago, that here's the thing, is that the white guards in there, they don't care what happens to the white inmates.
Nope,
because
not at all.
Here's the thing. The cops and the guards, they're not male, they're not female, they're not good, they're not evil, they don't have any beliefs. Their genetic prime directive is to put as many people in prison in the shortest amount of time possible. And once you're there, they think you're a scumbag, okay? And they don't believe they should care if you're getting victimized by the people who are there who are not white. So what you said a few months ago was what? If this goes down and you've got a whole bunch of targets out there, don't hit the ones that are brown and black if they work for the government. Hit the ones that are white, because they're the ones that are causing all these problems. Yep. They're the movers and the shakers. They're the ones that are organizing all this. They're the ones that are the people who are managing everything. Those are the people to hit first, and I agree with that, because I'll tell you something. Watch for
the one with the coffee cup and the clipboard who's got some other yes man standing next to him, and they're back a little farther, but they're gloating. That's the first person we're shooting.
When I was in, the people that were in the ATF and the FBI, the worst people that were in there, it wasn't the Spanish or the black people. Those people actually treated me pretty decent when I was in transport. The white ones, they always have a scowl on their face. They always just, they're ready. They're the ones pushing you and spitting in your face. And what are you going to do, you little piece of this and that? So yeah, it's those people, the white people that work for the federal government. They're the worst group of people on the planet, especially if they're going to work for these Jews. So right. That's what I experienced when I was in there.
And the point is that, again, it's going to be worse if they have their way. Okay, have you ever watched The Checklist?
Yeah, I pulled it up again last night.
I brought it up. You got to take the time. If you haven't watched the checklist, consider this. Think about what you've seen, because you've had a life's experience that matches. And guys, people go, "Oh, how could they do that?" We've already seen the base work for this, and all it takes is for a frothing at the mouth party member to gain enough control to get the rest of their fellow travelers at the right level of control. And they hit a switch, and what you saw in the checklist is what they truly plan on doing here. We have to stop this. This game is over as far as I'm concerned. You're not going to survive what they have planned if you think you're going to make a deal. There are no deals, and they plan on putting you right in the stack with the rest of the corpses in the hole. That's where we are in this country right now. Period. Yep. Anybody trying to argue otherwise is an idiot. And in fact, I would point out, you watch what happens in social media right now. You can tell who the troll shills are from Haifa and Tel Aviv, because they'll jump in there and they're still trying to do the conspiracy theory, or they'll throw in what it is. They got a list of pap yap that they push, and you know what? It's the same clique trying to buy time while the shipwreck is before you. Guys, this country has been burned down for a year. Did you see the FBI step up? Did you see anybody step up?
No.
All over the country, and they let it happen again and again. And somebody's talking here in Michigan, and all of a sudden the FBI, or like again, the interpretation of the bat faggots with this, with the AR-15 pistols. Either way, this is, the jump off, or, it doesn't make any difference who gets in charge the next time after they're done with this farce, whatever it is, if there's even going to be anything like a discussion afterwards. They're still going to do what they're doing right now. They just, like you said, put it off so that everybody will be lied to, and then they proceed with it anyway. The thing with the gun issue has to do with the fact that they already did this exactly the same way, and Donald Trump is to blame for that, period. You can't argue. You can try to, brain sweep yourself. I don't know how you're arguing against this, because it was a brag up. They're the ones who made the news releases we read from the White House. And they bragged up that we got to do this, so they did. And what they did is they knew, all their legal people knew, all of his swamp people that work for Trump knew, and all the people that claim they're not with the swamp who are with the swamp knew exactly what they were doing. And all that's happened is the toe of the foot hit maybe a little early, but it doesn't make any difference. This is coming no matter what. And all these people who have these pistol AR-15s, or for that matter, here's the thing, the AK pistols are in the same category. All of those people, and I said this how many months ago, I said this how many years ago, when they do this, that once you get that camel's nose in, the rest of it's falling just as quickly as they can try to get away with it. And by the way, how are you going to make the balance or the scale work? Because you see, they let you buy this weapon. These are the people who all bought a weapon built like this, not a person who made it at home. We're talking about on the books. They've even acknowledged there's close to 2 million plus people at least that have this particular weapon in hand. How is that? That's not going to be fixed, people. They've just made revenue and business for the bat faggots, and they know it.
Mark,
and all the arbitrary and capricious enforcement when the time comes, which is what we've told everybody about to begin with. There's nothing that's a surprise here, but anybody trying to make excuses, there are no good bat faggots, like you said. There are no good FBI. Until, in fact, like cops, okay? I've warned everybody, yes, we have cops that have done all kinds of things I can't even talk about that have been very helpful. But here's how they act. It's not you got to give me something. It's they will qualify. I don't want to know anything. I don't want you to tell me anything. Here's what I have. Take it, and hopefully this helps. Oh, I hear the howls in the background.
I was going to say, that's not my dog this time.
Who's got a dog in the background? Who stepped on that tail? That was
Mark, to remind people.
That was a hound. That was a hound.
Yes, it was. To remind people, the bump stock thing that Trump already pulled on those 500,000 gun owners, that was supposedly stemmed from the fake Las Vegas issue.
Oh, and
where
by the
the
way,
FBI was out there painting over the divots in the ground and fixing the bullet holes so that no one could tell that there was. Why do FBI agents come to private property and stand out there with paint and roll over the ground?
Gut marks and ricochet marks. Yes. Well, here's another thing real quick. Let's not forget that they used that as the excuse for the bump stock. But you might recall, if you look at all the claimed weapons that were piled up there, you will notice that there were more than one or two of those AR-15 pistols there. Using the criteria that somebody has committed a crime, in other words, we're not worried about them having really just the crime itself, but we're going to blame the Ford Mustang for being the car that did all of the evil. Therefore, your Ford Mustang needs to be confiscated and banned. Now, it'll probably get confiscated simply because it is the property involved in the action, but everybody else's Mustang needs to be confiscated now. Isn't that how it works? If right now I hear a car go by and he's got a set of cherry bombs and it's a Ford Mach 1, a new Mach 1 or a new G to whatever the hell, guess what? When they catch him, all the people on this street to begin with are going to have their Ford Mustangs confiscated. By the way, not just the ones that are the same model, but any year of Mustang on this road first needs to be confiscated, and then across the whole of the state of Michigan, we need to confiscate all the Ford Mustangs. Does anybody see, that's stupid. Okay, so now let's back up and go to this. Somebody committed a crime with an arm, a weapon, but we're going to go and ban all of them because we're going to use as the excuse that single act by an individual, which has to do with the person, not with the property. But that's how they're qualifying it. Go ahead, caller. I heard that voice. Whoever it was, jump in there.
Yeah, that's Todd there in Orlando. You were speaking about the checklist being an important film to watch, a documentary. There's another one that everybody should watch. It should be on your list. It came out in 2009. It's called Jury Lena. And Jury Lena is In the Shadow of Hermes. If you just put that into, just put in Juri space Lina documentary into YouTube. This is a 2009 film. It's a documentary about basically the Bolshevik Revolution in video. Pretty interesting.
And graphic.
Very graphic. It's 2 hours long, but
go ahead.
People need to watch it. No, people need to watch it. That's all. I'll tell you something else, Mark. We were talking about the ATF. The thing is, when someone does time in the Fed system and they're done with their time, they go do their probation, they're over. Okay, their time isn't over. Okay, because there's there's an element involved. And people don't believe this, but the ATF themselves can't do it, and the FBI themselves can't do it, but they can pay other people to do it. It's called gang stalking, okay? Because they want these people to be back in their system, and they want them to be in their system for a lifetime because they actually basically, they went against the government, especially if they're anti-government. If you're anti-government or you're part of some kind of group, and you got out and did your time, it's not like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to fight these people anymore. I just want to have a regular life. You're not going to have a regular life because you're going to be stalked in every way possible. And it could be something that you're not ready for, like financial stalking or some kind of electronic harassment by them. But you're going to be stalked, and you're going to be, people are going to come to you constantly, and they're going to say, hey, what's going on? Man, I can't stand this government, man. And I hate the blacks, and I don't know what's going to happen. And they try to be your friend, and it's like, you're thinking to yourself, why is this guy talking to me? And then they start talking about weapons, and then they start talking about illegal stuff, and it's like, you can't believe some of the stuff these people come up with, but they do. And I'll tell you something I want everybody to be aware of. If you remember back in 2007, these two white kids up in, I think it was the Nashville, Tennessee area. Their name was Shannon Christensen and Christopher, something like that. I forget their names.
The couple that was grabbed. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. They were grabbed by these 4 or 5 black people, and they were just butchered over a 3-day period in this crack house. So anyway, there was a big rally up in Knoxville over it. And, a lot of people went there and, they were protesting what had happened. And they wanted to bring awareness to it because the news media wasn't talking about it at all. And it wasn't until they had the rally and a lot of online activity that's when the news media started talking about it. Bill O'Reilly started talking about it, and he, backed out of it, and he didn't have the ideological prowess to deal with it, even in the position he was. But what's interesting is when I went there, I couldn't tell you how many people came up to me and started talking to me about illegal activity. Something needs to be done about these black people. We got to get together and do something. I'm like, okay, what? I don't know, man. So we need to start, lynching them or something, blowing them up or something. And every one of these people, they're not FBI agents, but they are trained by the FBI and the ATF to try to entrap people. And that's what they do. And they're targeting certain individuals and groups that they think are a threat. So I'm telling people out there, the best thing to do is not join a group, not talk to people, don't go online because we're in a serious situation right now. The best thing to do is stay out of trouble, prep, and buy supplies that you are going to need when the currency collapses. That's the only thing that you can do at this point. So I'll tell you something else. I don't know if you know this, but there's a guy, he has a website. His name's Hal Turner. I'm sure you've heard of this guy. Well, Hal Turner was at this rally, and he has said he went to prison for, I forget what it was. It was some kind of harassment of somebody. And before he went to prison, he was working with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. And when somebody works for the FBI and they're not an FBI agent, what they're trying to do is entrap people. That's the only thing you can do as a person who is not an FBI agent, but you want to help the FBI. You're there to entrap people. This guy came up to me during the rally. This is 2007. And he asked me, he says, would you like to meet up with some people that have the same kind of skills as you do and start to get some things done, maybe organize and do some things that are, something that, the whatever group would be doing, not above ground, but below ground. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He says, well, you have some skills that, could be used. And I was like, how? Get the F away from me. Don't talk to me again. But this is what you get. This is what you get with these people.
There's a feeling, see, this is one of the other things I pointed out. I don't have a problem with anybody. If you feel the hairs on the back of your neck are coming up, pay attention. Okay, I've had this conversation a million times, which is why we've been a lot more successful to begin with, in general, because people, they respond to a myriad of data, of information that's coming at you consciously and subconsciously. Your subconscious registers certain things that are part of the friend, foe, predator, prey thing. And when you feel the hairs on the back of your neck raise up, hackles, as they used to say, the hackles on the back of your neck, when that happens, either A, if you have somebody you're fully confident in, or somebody that's your ally that's raised with you, so to speak, then everybody that's in your very close circle, and something happens, or if it's a group that you are with and somebody doesn't feel it, say something. Say something. This is the most common mistake made. People, first of all, have a tendency to shut themselves off. And this is something that I've repeated a million times. Pay attention to what's going on. Don't shut your brain down. If the hairs on the back of your neck are rising up and something doesn't feel right, say something to the people that you do have there and deal with the problem. In fact, most cases where everybody has done, here's the only thing they have an option to do. The Hutari case was like this. There was this individual that everybody knows about, and Dar keeps mentioning, hey, what is like this guy from the Hutari case. Everybody already had a good idea, and were actually pegging the individuals that were in question. Well, how did they get there? Well, because it was a general association to begin with, and these people, of course, were brought forward in a cyclic process of vetting that was going on. So they weren't on the inside or the inner circle. That's the first thing that they always try to claim. but rather, again, through fabrication and lies, which, by the way, with the Hutari case took how long? 2 years. Oh, when they got into court, and then eventually every step of the way, every aspect of the lies and fabrications generated, two things happened. A, grudgingly, to a degree, they acknowledged them, but they got so arrogant that to a degree, they actually blurted most everything out. It's amazing because some people were scratching their head. In fact, that's why the whole thing became a feces pie for the Fed with the Hutari case, because literally in the courtroom, they acknowledged not only that they were lying, but they were proud of lying. Not only were they proud of lying, but they wanted to see how much they could get away with. Now, guys, this is on record in court, okay? This is not rumor somebody said, somebody heard. This is where the bastards are sitting right there telling you exactly who they are. One of the little cherries that came out of that, by the way, with the Hutari case, is, you know, one of the reasons that they had to go after Hutari? Caller, do you know what one of the number one reasons that they had to go after Hutari, what the FBI agent said?
No, I forgot.
Hutari burned their flag. Hutari burned their flag. Now, as Dave pointed out, wait a minute, hold on. We don't burn American flags. We don't burn pretty much any American flag from any state, right? What's the flag that Hutari burned down that the FBI was told they had to go after Hutari for? And this is in the court record. This is not something we're paraphrasing it. They said, they burned our flag. Well, the lawyer stopped for a second, and Dave and the rest all said the same thing. It's like, well, wait a minute. The only flag that was burned was the UN flag, people. And the FBI stated that their flag was burned. The only flag that was burned was a UN flag. That was their benchmark reason for coming after the people with Hutari, you know, with Hutari. That's what they argued was the significant action. Their words, not ours. Okay? So just a little heads up there. Now, who are you dealing with? Foreigners. Foreign agents of a foreign power registered in the United States. At some point, in fact, not too far away, this is coming to a head. One way or another, this is going to be dealt with. And again, either we're going into the darkness of the, and we can't afford to, so we have to win, we have to fight. And the Red Terror, which is, again, why the reference you had, Jury
Lina.
Yeah, I wondered, was it Lima? Is it Lima?
No, L-I, it's J-U-R-I.
I got that.
Space L-I-N-A. And just type in documentary after that and click the first one down.
Excellent, thank you. You know what, Lena, I had it right, but I had my squiggle here because I was doing this. I was doing it off on the side pad. I had it right. I just didn't think I had it right. So it's Jurlina. But the fact of the matter is that when you see these, understand this is they don't invent new. They just want to redo. They just want to relive an experience they've already had. Your enemy does. So that's what we're facing, and it's why again we're at the point where, well, where do you go from here? Where can you go from here with this? You know, and again, I haven't had anybody explain to me how is this whole thing going to work out with the election, because there isn't an election. As far as I'm concerned, it's the 14th of October. And again, no Republican is stepping up and saying, you know, the Democrats have so screwed this up with voter fraud that we need to stop and we can fix it. We have so many days it could be done. And it could be if they were serious about it. So I'm going to
tell you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I found out last night that, okay, it's not proof, but I'm pretty sure it's proof. There's a guy on YouTube, and his name is Stephen Ben-Nun. And Stephen Ben-Nun is a Jewish boy, and basically what he does is he converted to Christianity, and he does not like the Noahide laws with the Jews. He doesn't like the white versus Jewish stuff, and he knows about the atrocities that Jews have committed before. And I do listen to him sometimes. So he came out with a video a couple days ago. His channel is called Fact News Network on YouTube. That's his second channel. So he came out with a video called Shifting Sands. and I forget at which point he said this, but it was towards the end of the video. He said he has some contacts in Israel, and he knows for a fact that President Donald Trump converted to Judaism in 2017.
Well, that makes sense. The rest of the clique they're already conversos. Remember, that is a term from history, guys. He is a converso. And that's exactly what I believe. I don't doubt it with as far as with Trump, which is another reason that you have two different factions. Well, let me start from what I said at the beginning of this 2-hour block. You have Trotskyites, you have Leninists, and you have Stalinists. Although I said Lenin first, and that would be appropriate. Basically, that's what's fighting over your destruction right now. Right. Trotskyites, Leninites, and Stalinites. That's it. You're not there. You don't have Americans right now that are in the mix fighting for you in the government mechanism. There are 5 or 6, maybe 7 factions. There is one element of the bunch that is American.
Did you see the video? Just came out. Project Veritas. They did a hidden camera on this guy that is a member of Antifa. For 12 minutes, he sat there and talked about what's going to happen on November 4th after the election if Donald Trump gets in. All the people that are going to be attacked and what they're going to do, he says it's going to be total chaos. That was Project Veritas video. That's James O'Keefe's channel. He did 4 years ago. He was the one responsible for bringing to light the election fraud and what the Democrats were saying. And he was a big reason that Trump got in. But at this point, it's pretty obvious it doesn't matter. The only thing that's going to happen if Trump gets in is that the collapse may not happen as quick as with the Democrats, but it's still going to happen.
Right. The only thing is trying to selectively pick how, remember the old story, Wicked Witch of the West. These things must be done delicately. I may be back in an hour rather than right now, but I will be back in an hour.
Yeah, so this guy, James O'Keefe, the video, his channel is called Project Veritas, and it's the second video that he came out with. It's the second to last video. So, and then they confronted the guy and said, "What did you mean by this? What were you talking about?" And he didn't want to talk. So it's the video is called okay, when did this come out? Just recently. Yeah, it's Our Revolution Chair and Colorado Dem Party Exec. If you type that in, it says, and then quote, it says, "It's truly killing random Nazis in the street." That's what this guy says. So it's the 4th video back on the Project Veritas channel. And it's pretty interesting to watch. I mean, we've heard these people say these things over and over again in their tweets, what they're going to do. But this guy, for 12 minutes, it's just quote after quote after quote on hidden video about what they are planning on doing if Trump gets in office.
Let me point something out real quick. You know, I mentioned that, okay, for everybody who hasn't watched it, before they pull it, go watch the checklist. But here's what's interesting. Farcebook hasn't pulled it. Do you want to know why they haven't pulled it? Do you know why it was posted on Facebook initially? It wasn't a warning for you. It was a coaching session for them.
Right.
Does everybody, okay, I'm going to ruin part of this. You watch these okay, well, let me point something out. This movie was done in 1992. Okay, it was done at the collapse of the wall and the fall of supposedly the communism. The argument on our side is that all that happened is communism ran all the way to the English Channel. And if you don't think so, who's in charge of Germany right now? Where did Merkel come from? Was Merkel from East Germany or West Germany? Merkel is an East German Stasi agent. Does everybody understand that?
Why do you want to leave the DDR?
Yes. Why do you want? Well, don't worry, you won't. The DDR will roll right over. All these communists and non-workers and non-entities that were Antifa communists are who are muscling over in Germany in general. Okay. With the movie The Checklist was done as the wall fell, and it's when there was about a 1.5 year window where honesty was being played out because the atrocities were so deep and the truth so massively horrible that everybody, basically all the commies, went silent and desperately hoping that they could roll past the moment, and they did. Now, when you watch this, watch the very beginning. You don't know what's going on in the movie, and I don't want to ruin it, but I will say this. If you watch The Checklist, do not have your children in the room. And yes, you can go to YouTube, pull it up on your big television, and watch it on a big screen. But I'm going to warn you that it is appropriately graphic because you need to understand your enemy. However, when this was put up on YouTube, it wasn't for you to be warned. It was for them to use as a training film. The only thing they didn't like was the end of it, okay? Because in the end, the character goes stupid, brain crazy, okay? However, if you watch, there's a scene where they're doing leapfrog. Everybody goes, that's really goofy. They're really goofy. I want you to think to your American streets and also the hairball, purple-haired Fruit Loop nutcases you are seeing right now. And then when you watch that movie, so you've had something you weren't supposed to see yet. Think about what you've seen on America's streets and what kind of nutcase Fruit Loops you have. Now go watch The Checklist, and then you'll understand what the author was trying to tell you about the creatures that were the mass murderers. And it's eerie because, well, that's goofy. It's like if you didn't have the criteria that you have right now to work with on the American street, then you would look at that and go, that's really weird. How could they put that in the movie? Then you look at this and go, oh, this is no different, and those are the same kind of loons. Well, another voice. I heard somebody very patient. Jump in there, please. Go ahead. Caller?
Shelby from Oklahoma. I was just going to say with the checklist, you should download it. You can do a search online if you have a computer, and you can find YouTube video downloaders for free, and you can download the film to your computer. That way it's saved, and before YouTube deletes it, which surprisingly has been up for years, and it hasn't been deleted.
Right, and the reason they haven't deleted it, guys, you have to ask yourself that. Go watch that. Okay, you can have videos with somebody talking about blah, 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 and it's been pulled. When you watch The Checklist, it is the most graphic movie about the communist operations that you will find step by step. It is, in fact, there is nothing held back in that movie. Does everybody understand that? Now, that doesn't tempt you to go watch it, although, again, remember, gird yourself, and you can't have a soft heart on this. You've got to watch it because you need to understand that is what he's talking about here, how they're yapping amongst themselves, that they're going to lie to you every step of the way, and you're going to get caught flat-footed, and the ATF and the Antifa and the feds and the foreigners, we're not going to know what's going to happen. Guys, where do you think all this arms and ammunition is going, and how many people do you think have had experiences overseas that are long in the eye that know exactly what the other side's planning? We have our plans too, and this is what we've warned everybody about, but you have to all get up to speed as quick as you can. And these are tools you can use. And again, like Shelby just said, guys, please take the time, make a hard copy, and then share the hell out of it too. There's an English version and there's an English subtitle version which somebody cleaned up, by the way. It wasn't as clean as it was, like we just said. It's been on there for quite some time. Then there's the Russian-only version. Get both of them because, again, better to have backups. So proper planning prevents piss poor performance. We've covered a number of subjects, and yes, it is Weapons Wednesday. Your mind is your first best weapon. You better sharpen it like a very, very, very fine blade because we have a fight we're going to be into, and we're not going to be home by Christmas. It's going to be an 8-year-long war. It'd be nice if we could keep it together. You will in certain areas for a while, but at some point this conflict is going to touch everybody in this country hard, and it means that we are going to have to fight. You have to fight for your life. It's worth fighting for. And Mark, as far as those pigs on the other side, drop them all. Drop them all. Don't let any of them get back to where they came from. Caller, jump in there. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, there's another book that's pretty hardcore about what happened before, during, and after to Germany during World War II, and I don't know if you've ever read this. I'll call back in at 8.
Very good. You do that. I'll tell you what, guys, for everybody out there, thanks for being patient. For all of you that participated, thank you also. We have Tom Monahan forgive me, Tom. God, slap me on the microphone. Jim Monahan is in very ill straits. Please, if you could say a prayer for his strength. And again, that's Jim Monahan. We'll give you a little more update on that this weekend in the hour, 1 hour out. Meanwhile, God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
And we are on the march, both day and night.
And all of you together have to work together towards a common goal. We got Craig coming up with Forbidden Knowledge. Take the time, listen in, pay attention, guys. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. God bless. Bye-bye.
Shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the fight for boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys. Always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys. Fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys. Stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys. High on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys. It will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys. Faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry...
This session is no longer being recorded.
And subcompact pistols for that too.